So my name is Anthony Stefan. I'm a graduate student at Florida Tech, and I have been through the ropes of the SCUDEM experience to the fullest you could possibly think that you could get the experience out of it. Besides being a professor and coaching, but I have actually coached numerous times, even though I am a grad student. Um, so what I want to talk about, though, there's two main goals um, of this presentation. My first goal is to talk a little bit about what opportunities and what the experience can provide for students that are not just math majors. And specifically, the way I want to do this is I interviewed this past week, I interviewed my old teammates from 2 years ago of being a part of SCUDEM 2, and got their perspective of what experience through SCUDEM has really that they still remember, or maybe that it's relevant to their career or what they're doing now. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But then the other half is seeing all of the kind of my take, my perspective on SCUDEM, and why I guess you should listen to me on my take of the perspective is just because I've been so involved. Let's just go in here. So since SCUDEM 2, my team and I have presented at JMM 19. So that was before COVID. So we went to Baltimore and we got to present, right? So, and I love this virtual aspect of the SIMIODE EXPO, because it might give opportunities for students to have the same opportunity like I had to go present at JMM, whereas there was no other student participants doing such a thing. I got to actually, we developed our work into a publication after after our SCUDEM experience and our presentation. We actually developed it into the Rose-Hulman Institute Undergraduate Mathematics Journal, where we describe our limitations, our model, and our experience with SCUDEM. And then later on, another teammate member of mine did the exact same thing before he graduated undergrad in a different journal. So these are potential things for very motivated students, that what they could do with this work, and actually be able to put it down on a CV, or also on their or use it in a job interview to mention it, right? And then also we were featured as a video in a video that we did on the SIMIODE website. This was new at that time, to present our to make a video of our presentation and then provide it online for other of a past SCUDEM, I guess, for present SCUDEM participants. So this was something novel, and now we know that all of them are on YouTube, right? They've been uploaded on YouTube, so it's a great resource, which I'll get into. But this was just something that we kind of started. And then the other amazing thing since SCUDEM that I think is the most valuable is that we curated awesome network with professors. It provided me with an internship with SIMIODE and SCUDEM, and then also getting letter of recommendations from not just people that were involved with SCUDEM and SIMIODE, such as Brian, but also with the professor that we worked under, who is our coach, right? So it develops that relationship with them. So actually right here is my two teammates, and I just want to talk a little bit about the interview that I had with them, and so you can feel, or I guess, get the experience from their experience, and understand why I believe that this is an amazing challenge. So Bernie here, Bernie Tyson is who I'm talking about. He majored actually in chemistry. He did an internship at the Oak Ridge National Lab. He also was the ASC, AMS national liaison. So really distinguished young gentleman. Since graduation, the year after we graduated in 2019, he mentored students for 1 year at his high school alma mater, which is Regis High School, and that's in Manhattan, New York City. And then now he's currently an analyst for Collage Partners, which is a biotech venture placement firm. And he's the CEO founder at Stefan Tyson Enterprise, a startup for patenting innovative technologies. You can see there that there's my last name in that company as well. So close relationship with this gentleman. He's also my best friend. But I wanted to ask both of my teammates from this experience these two questions. And the first question is what is your favorite part about the SCUDEM experience if you could think back to it? And Bernie was saying that it's just that you get this problem and you need to try to come up with a solution for it. SCUDEM provides you with dots, but connecting those dots is your own, you come up with your own method for doing that. And he believes that this kind of like paved the way for him wanting to contribute to finding solutions in the real world and what he's passionate about, such as biotech industry or innovative technologies. So it really inspired him in that manner. And then also the other question I wanted to ask was, what did the SCUDEM experience prepare you for and what you do now? Because it's rather evident if he was a math major that this type of experience, or if he went into applied mathematics, it's going to be really relevant to what he does. However, now that he's an analyst for a biotech venture placement firm, how is this even relevant to what you do? And he pretty much just wanted to state that, what does SCUDEM do? This is what he said. He said they release a problem, they generate a model, they have a justification for your thought process, and then they want you to develop a justification for your thought process. Why is your model even accurate? Give a presentation on that and do a write-up explaining your model to an audience that's probably not familiar with this model or this problem that you're working with. He said, that was the exact same structure as my job interview of the job I currently have. It was, I'm going to get some data and I'm going to be provided information on a biotech company. I need to generate a presentation, and I believe that the time, the window of time that he had to be able to do this was in about a week, which was relevant to the time back then. Evaluate if this company is a good company or not to invest in, and compare them to other companies, and then present this and the complex science behind it in layman terms to the founding partner, right? And this was part of his interview process. It was like, wow, this is like the exact same thing I did with SCUDEM. So he was saying that the presentation of the structure of that was the same. And then also he said that SCUDEM helped him to understand how to structure his time and what mattered and how to do research to be able to actually give his presentation for his job in a timely manner. So I was like, wow, that's outstanding. I love hearing that. And then as for Zach Frailer, he's a biochem molecular biology major. Currently, he's at Duke University for biomedical engineering in the PhD program, and he's doing lab research on tissue engineering for skeletal muscle and developing the disease model for limb-girdle muscle dystrophy. So
is that it? I mean,
right, yeah. Well, he's another outstanding scholar, right? He's actually a Goldwater scholar. He received the Goldwater while he was in undergrad, and then another thing is he was on an honorable mention for NSF for graduate research funding. So another outstanding young gentleman. I asked him the exact same questions, and I said, what is your favorite part about the SCUDEM experience? And he said that he enjoyed the group aspect. It gives you a chance to work with people in an amazing field or discipline like mathematics that's so important, with people that you probably would not have been able to work with because they're your friends or they're not the same major as you. I know that during the time that I was ready to participate in this, such as later in my undergrad career, like a junior or senior, and they were the same age as me, junior, senior, they were taking intense chemistry courses, they were taking intense physics courses, and I was just taking math courses, right? So we never shared an experience with each other when we were best friends by the end of our college experience. So I thought that was a great comment on that question. The other question I asked is, how did Scudem prepare you for what you do now that he's at Duke University doing this stuff? And he said actually learning how to collaborate with others through Scudem process was very helpful. But then also I think one of the most important things is that the project models a more realistic experience toward higher level education and research experience that one doesn't really get inside the classroom. I know that one of my favorite parts about Scudem and his as well is that you get all these research papers or top that you need to go read to learn about what you need to do for modeling these problems. And that is research at its finest, right? You take all this information from all these resources that you have, and you need to go come up with a solution to what you are interested in modeling. So that's kind of my pitch on exactly, why cross-discipline Scudem challenge in modeling differential equations is so important, and also has this grand effect beyond just being a math major. Um, as for myself, I think it will be evident throughout the rest of the presentation what Scudem has provided for me. I'm researching. I'm at Florida Tech, so I'm researching higher levels of linear algebra, doing complex analysis and stuff. And I feel like the process was almost identical to what I do now. My research advisor gives me a task to do. I need to go learn it. I need to provide a presentation. I go in, and then I would say that it's beautiful that I just go up there and present and he's all happy. But no, it's more like few days banging my head against the wall in his office. But I got the opportunity after this through meeting Brian, for a summer 2020 internship. And what this internship did is it what my tasks were during the internship and what I got to do was I contributed to improving a little bit of the SIMIODE webpage structure. I don't know if you've seen how the Scudem was presented in past years, but it seemed more like you opened up the webpage and it was just this long novel that information was in order, but just kind of, it was too much information. So what we did for this past Scudem 5 is we actually set up the website so that coaches and students, if you were a coach or a student, you would go there and you would immediately click on coach or student, and then that's the only information that you would see. And I feel like that was able to funnel, if someone's looking for information, that was able to funnel them to the right source. So this was something that we contributed to do over the internship. Also, tagging of some of the resources here on the SIMIODE website. What this means is if we know that there's about 1,100 plus resources on the SIMIODE website, and most of them are modeling scenarios. What we did over this internship is we went through and read the modeling scenario, and if we're using something like a change of variables, or if you're looking at a modeling scenario that is like a PDE problem with it's a boundary valued problem or something like that, we would add those keywords in as tagging for resources. So then that way SIMIODE, when they do their transition over to Hub Zero community at Cubes Hub, they would be able to easily organize all the information so that professors or students would be able to actually go in and find what they're looking for a little bit easier than it has been in the past. We also wrote up a LaTeX overleaf kind of resource guide that would help students who are interested, and even professors who are interested in using overleaf for LaTeX, to collaborate with each other or collaborate on a project like Scudem, the Scudem experience. Then this would be a good startup help guide for that, which overleaf is like a Google Docs for LaTeX. and also developed a modeling guide for students and coaches. I will talk a little bit about that in some of the resources further in the presentation, but then also providing student feedback for this book that has been released. It's Kurt Bryan's new SIMIODE online text, which is Differential Equation, a tool for modeling the world, but is going to be available, and it actually links a lot of the modeling scenarios in the books are ones that were from the SIMIODE website. So it's really nice because it's making a book more virtual and making it more real. The linear algebra talk that was today as the keynote speaker was fascinating because of that textbook that's available where you can actually do a problem, learn the theory, do a problem, and then code in Sage. And that's where the world's going, and that's what we need. So I was able to give a little bit of feedback from a student perspective on this, this textbook. This summer internship was funded by SGCI, which is an organization that tries to provide open resource organizations interns. So as for coaches, my experience is I coached two teams in the fall of 2019, and then just this past spring 2020, I guess fall 2020, I also coached 4 teams, and this was all online. So I got the experience of doing hosting and coaching in person, and then one online. So as for coaching resources, the SIMIODE website, obviously a great place to go and not only pull modeling scenarios there. I would direct my students toward the SIMIODE website, and I would say, okay, look at some modeling scenarios and the past modeling challenges that were released. Another thing that is a great guide, I don't know if you guys were able to see it, but the modeling guide that I mentioned before, if you would look up Anthony Stefan online or modeling guide at the SIMIODE website, the resource is linked right here. This provides a modeling cycle for students. So then that way they know what to expect, and they almost have like a skeleton for their model that they're trying to generate. It includes assumptions, so on and so forth. And then the response to the problems are a great place to go and understand what the author of the problems was looking for. Response to the problems is released every year afterwards by the author of the statements. So then also resources for students. How did I go about, especially online, preparing my students? The resources for students that I provided was the coaches resources that were mentioned on the SIMIODE website, the modeling activity. Also now, this is one of the best resources that you could give them is the outstanding, the SIMIODE YouTube channel has the outstanding presentations now of this past SCUDEM experience. So that's a great way for the students to go in, watch a couple of them and say, okay, this is what they did. They added their assumptions. They modeled it in this way. They found numerical solutions this way and that way. And then student resources on the SIMIODE website is the exact same thing. We're looking at these modeling scenarios. We're looking at the past release problems, so on and so forth. But that's kind of my, I give the students these documents, and then I also just say, okay, go and do your thing. I generally try to meet with them at least a couple times before to see what they're doing, to make sure that they're on task, or if there's any problems, and always say that I'm available to help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you for that. I did download that guide you mentioned right there, and that does look very helpful. I probably will be including that next time. Definitely some things on there that I forgot to mention. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I just made that because we received the highest reward, like the highest distinction for our model, and that's kind of the model that we put in place. And then this past team that I coach, they did the kind of the exact same structure and received highest distinction. So because of that, I was like, oh, this must be a good process, and I want the students to kind of have something to compare to. I told Brian, I was like, we're telling them to go and build the car, but in a workshop, and we're giving them all the tools to build a car, but we're not telling them, oh, it needs to have headlights for sure, it needs to have tires, and it needs to have an engine, and it needs to have paint. That can be any way you want to build a car, but at least if it has those, then you're on a good track. So I really wanted to try to, provide that for students. They're not doing a write-up anymore, but then also the publication that we did in the Rose-Hulman Journal with these three gentlemen that were on my team is also a really good way we address the problem statement. If you give that to your students, and then we talk about our model, our assumptions, and then our experience and the limitations. Another really great resource for something that they can read, not just watch a YouTube video and try to understand everything. I recommend giving them that.
Well, it looks good. Thanks.
You didn't mention a heater in the car. It's negative something here for the next 5 days in a row. So make sure you add that to the list.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but I live in Melbourne, right? So it's probably 75 out or so.
Yeah, tough life.
Tough. Yeah.
You may need air conditioning in the summer, though.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Anybody else out there want to add to the conversation?
Or any feedback, any feedback on the presentation, or even more resources. I would love to get that feedback, so then that way I can prepare my students better. I'd appreciate it.
I wouldn't say feedback for you, but this is what Rob and I were talking about a little earlier, is this Prezi thing. This is one of those slick softwares that's available that I pushed my students towards, and they can use it for free, I believe, right? There's a limited use.
There's one thing about it that is recent. I think they need more money to run it. Because a lot of people are using it, is that they made the free version, you have to make your presentation public. So because it's a challenge, I just want to warn you about that. So are we overtime? Are we on time? I don't know what time I'm supposed to end.
We're done with the presentation. We've got a couple-minute break until the 4:30. Brian has a few words to sum everything up.
At 5:30. Okay. Yeah. If you guys don't mind me continuing with the just with showing you guys this, I actually have, I don't know how to go to my dashboard here. I actually have my presentation that I presented for my model right here. I did in Prezi, and you can just kind of see, I guess, I think that LaTeX is amazing for like intense research, Beamer presentations, right? But then when it comes to like actually presenting something visual at an undergraduate level, I highly recommend Prezi.
And I do too. As somebody who's grading these things, there's a big difference between somebody just kind of muddling through a PowerPoint and then somebody using something like this.
Yep.
And it was easier to make the video?
Well, now, so the video so actually when I was involved, it was a presentation in person, and it was the 2-page executive summary of your model. I think it zooms out here. See, so this is, so we modeled how simple prey can react immediately from knowing that it's in danger from predator approaching, which was really cool. But
I remember that problem.
Yeah. Just going. I loved actually using Prezi because it shows the flow of your model. Whereas like sometimes you don't get that same thing when you're going from like a slide to a slide. And we just easily, I would love to make this available so you could show students if you really wanted to, but just immediately went from model assumptions to more kind of like understanding the research to our model, right? This is the equation. So there's 6 stimuli that are needed. That's our differential equation, right? So that's kind of just what we did. But I just felt like this was really nice and flow and easy to use in Prezi, which was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can stop the share.
My intention is to require them to use that because it just looks really useful in general for the rest of their career, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, I mean, let's see, Prezi's a really good one, but if it comes down to it and you had to use, you know, like slides, like Google Slides, the nice part about all of these that are mentioned here, Google Slides, Prezi, is that you can collaborate it online. So that's kind of something you can't do when you have a project presentation through PowerPoint. Like, I don't think you can have people join in and work on the same PowerPoint as you, right?
No, not usually, no.
Yeah. And that's why I wrote actually a resource in SIMIODE for Brian on getting started in overleaf, because if you're right, like if anyone's interested in going to grad school, you pretty much write your homework in overleaf, you do your presentations, you do research in overleaf and everything. Starting to get used to LaTeX and collaboration through overleaf, like that's something else that I want to do. And my students, actually, the ones that received outstanding that just presented, they did their presentation in overleaf, which was cool to see them do.
Interesting.
Very good.
All righty.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Anthony. Best of luck.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
nice
you.
to meet you guys. Thank you for tuning in, listening to that.
Lyle, good to catch up with you.
Good to see you again. I'm sorry it's so cold.
We had a beautiful January, and but now this just
Now you're paying
5
for it.
days in a row. It's not going to get above 0.
Nice. I miss those days. I actually grew up near Buffalo, you know, so I don't know if it got bitterly cold so much, but 3 feet of snow was not unusual.
Right.
So anyway, I'm gonna head out just for a minute and be back for that thing.
Yeah, and
See
it's
you later.
recording, so
Yeah.
take care. Thanks, Marissa.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.